snack. Me and you gonna have a little chat about books. Hi guys! So today I am going to be doing some book reviews, and the first one of the book reviews that I'm going to be doing in this outfit today is We Were Liars by E Lockhart, and this is the Booksplosion Book of the Month for June, so that's the main reason that I picked this up. It's a very, very short book. It's a contemporary, which I don't usually read, but let's get into the review. So this is the story of Cadence Sinclair, and she is a teenage girl who is born into a very rich and obsessive family. Every year they visit a private island which is owned by her grandfather. They spend all of their days sitting and basking in the sunlight, playing in the water and doing all sorts of very, very fancy things. Summer is the best time of the year. She loves going to the island. She loves meeting up with her cousins who are basically her best friends. Mirren, Johnny and Gat, they are all of her friends from the island. Mirren and Johnny are her cousins, and Gat is a friend of theirs who comes to the island as well. Together they are the Liars, that's what they call themselves, and they all kind of have really fun times. They make up all these games to play and they just do whatever they want to and enjoy themselves. From the outside, their world looks like a rather wonderful one. It seems like they've got everything that they could ever want, but in truth there are actually a lot of problems behind all the happy faces and all the smiles. Everyone has a lot of scars that are kind of emotional scars hidden beneath the surface. So I found Katie, the main character, to be a little bit irritating. She was quite a damaged character due to something that happens that we don't know about. That's the kind of main plot, is figuring out what happened to her. But she's quite emotionally damaged, and she did some things that I didn't particularly agree with, and she did some things which I thought were a bit stupid. I do understand her situation and I do empathise with people who are in that situation, but I felt like she just wasn't a real believable character at some of the things that she did, and I also didn't feel a very strong attachment to her as a character, which was a bit of a shame because obviously she's the main character, so you're meant to be able to feel some sort of strong attachment, but I didn't. And because I wasn't really attached to her, I felt like the story just wasn't quite as good as I hoped it was going to be, so that was a little bit of a shame as well. The characters of Mirren, Johnny and Gat were actually really quite dull as well. I didn't really enjoy any of them particularly. None of them really stood out to me as a very, very interesting character. All of them were rather kind of plain. None of them did anything really crazy or exciting, so they were all just kind of there. Each of them had their own flaws, and it's all rather irritating at different points because all of them do things that were quite questionable in my mind. But it might have just been that we're seeing them through the eyes of Katie, and that's why I didn't really feel an attachment to them, because I didn't feel an attachment to her. So maybe that's why. Mirren and Johnny I did like a little bit when they were bickering. I thought they had more personality to them when they were making jokes at each other and having a laugh. Gat was quite frustrating for me because more than anything I just couldn't understand why everyone liked him so much, when he seemed to be a bit of a bother and he was a little bit obnoxious. Although he's the one who's meant to not be so rich, not be so stuck up, some of the things that he did and said were a little bit out of order and a bit rude, and although I did agree with him on some points I just really didn't. He's the one who's not supposed to be a kind of stuck-up member of the Sinclair family. He's meant to be the outsider giving a bit of reason, which he did, but he sometimes did it in a way that I just didn't think was very nice and just wouldn't have been very realistic. One thing I did really like about this story was that it includes all sorts of different tales of a king and his daughters and all sorts of reworked versions of the fairy tales, which I really liked because that linked in with the main plotline as well. There were sort of interludes where it would just be a new version of this similar story over and over, but they were really interesting and they definitely gave it a different twist, which I really enjoyed. So one of the sections I did enjoy a lot was the sections that were about the giveaways. She started giving away all of her stuff to different people, and I liked seeing who she gave it away to and why she had given it to them. But I did think the fact that she started just giving away all of her stuff was a little bit odd, but I think that because her family is quite rich and stuck up, they're meant to be a little bit eccentric as well, which I suppose some of them are quite a lot actually. On the whole, I thought that this was an interesting and very witty story. It was definitely told in a very sarcastic way a lot of the time, which I did enjoy. It was also quite lyrical in some parts, which was nice. The writing I did enjoy. I thought the writing was very good. I just didn't like the storyline so much and the characters, which was a bit of a shame. That sort of let the writing style down a bit. There is a massive plot twist at the end. I'm sure you've all heard that there is one. Unfortunately for me, I actually guessed what the plot twist was going to be very early on, and it's only a 200-odd page book, so yeah, I guessed it very, very early on, and I was a little bit disappointed that it wasn't something other than what I thought it was going to be, because to me that seemed a little bit obvious, but I don't know, maybe that's just because I read fantasy and I kind of guessed it because of that, as opposed to it's probably not that common in a contemporary setting what actually happens at the end. And I did enjoy it. I thought that the writing was very good, like I said, so I gave this one 3 out of 5 stars. I did enjoy it. I would say that if you like contemporary, it's definitely worth reading. The writing style is very interesting, and I'm sure that E Lockhart's other books are just as interesting. I personally probably not going to read any more of her books, just for the fact that I didn't really love this one enough to want to go out and buy more. But it was a good book, and I'm definitely glad that Booksplosion allowed me to read it, because I would probably never have picked this up otherwise, so that was definitely cool. Thank you guys for watching. I will see you all very soon in my next video. Bye! Me and you gonna have a little